Hello friends, I am Professor Ravindra Taklikar from SKN Sinhgad College of Engineering, Korti, Pandharpur. Today we are going to discuss unit number 3 from Software Engineering, Function and Object Oriented Design. In the previous lectures, out of the given content, we have covered the bits such as design principles, module level concepts, and a design notation and specification in the classroom. Today we are going to learn the remaining bits from the unit. So before starting with the next bit, that is structured design methodology 3.4, before starting with that unit, let us revise the bits that we have seen so far in the classroom, just in brief. So under the design principles, we have learned that the design process, it has got two levels: the system design, also called as top level design, detailed design or logical design. Again, we have seen that once the function oriented design is finished, its basic output, what different outputs will be generated, what will be in the hands of the designer. That is, major data structures of the system will be defined, major modules of the system will be defined, and how these modules they will interact with each other, that is also will be defined once the function oriented design will be finished. Under the design principles, we have seen 4 different bits: problem partitioning and hierarchy, abstraction, modularity, and finally last was top down and bottom up strategies. So if you remember, we have seen these design principles in detail one by one. So these bullet points you have to remember under the design principles of function oriented design. The chapter basically has been divided into 2 major parts: function oriented design and object oriented design. So the first part was function oriented design, in which these were the points that we have discussed, and the question can be asked as, what are the design principles of function oriented design? In that case, you have to answer the 4 different design principles in this case, and we have seen them in more detail in the classroom already. Okay, so these 4 different design principles you have to mention when the question is asked on the design principles of function oriented design. So some of the concepts from function oriented design you need to remember when you go for the object oriented design, the second half of the chapter. The next bit we have learned was module level concepts. Very important bit. You must know the meaning of module. You must remember the meaning of module, because the system is considered to be a collection of module in the function oriented design. Function oriented design, it looks at the system as a collection of various modules. So what do you mean by a module? Basically, it is nothing but a logically separable part of the program. And in a system which uses the functional abstraction, 2 modularization criteria are used. Means related to the modules, 2 main modularization criteria you must remember. We have discussed this already. Let us revise it in a very brief. Coupling and cohesion. Coupling, what does it mean? What does it stands for? The coupling is nothing but the how the 2 different modules are interconnected, how strongly the 2 different modules are interconnected. That means the coupling tells the relation between 2 different modules. Depending on the relation, you can have highly coupled, loosely coupled or independent, these different types of couplings. So coupling, it tells the relation between two different modules from the external side, okay, whereas cohesion, what it does, it shows the relation between the elements which are within a particular module, how closely the elements of a module are related, that is cohesion. Why I am repeating this? Because these two concepts we are going to again use in the second half of the chapter, that is object oriented design. So please remember the difference between coupling and cohesion. Coupling, it tells the relation between the two modules, whereas cohesion, it tells the relation within the module, a particular module, that is relation between the modules, how closely those elements of a particular module they are related to each other. So in the coupling we have seen different types, three types, and different factors that can affect the coupling in case of function oriented design. And in cohesion we have seen different levels of cohesion, starting with coincidental, having the lowest level of cohesion, ranging towards in the bottom downward direction. The last one is functional cohesion, which is having the highest level of cohesion. So what they say, you should prefer for the functional cohesion, level of cohesion, because it has got the elements which are highly associated or related with each other. That means all the elements within the module, they are having the same aim for performing a particular task. That is the reason that they have got the same reason to be the part of a particular module. So these different levels of cohesion you should remember. So that were the module level concepts we have seen. 7 different levels of cohesion we have seen. Then the third bit was design notation and specification. Under that we have seen the design notation and the design specification, two different bits. In the design notation we have seen in the function oriented design, the structure chart can be used. The structure chart can be used to show the design notation of a particular software. Basically, for understanding the structure chart, you should remember that every program will have a particular structure of a program. It is made up of modules of that program. So with these basics, we have seen that every particular program will have its own structure, and the structure chart of a program, it is nothing but graphic representation of its structure. Means the program has got a structure, and that structure can be graphically represented by using the structure chart. So that was about the structure chart. With the example, we have seen the structure chart of sort program. We have seen this example in the class already. Please remember which notations are used in a particular structure chart. That is very important. Again, we have seen the example where the iteration and decision representation, how it is done, how it is shown in the structure chart, which different boxes are used. Please remember which different boxes, arrows, etc. are used in the structure chart. You should please remember these things. Even you should know different types of modules that are used in a structure chart. The modules, they are divided into various types, like input module, output module, transform module, coordinate modules, etc. So with the examples, we have seen these different modules, okay, such as on this slide you can see the input module, which receives the input from the superordinate module of its own, that is its superclass. The output module, it is nothing but it receives the data from the superordinate and then it generates the output accordingly. See, you can see the arrows shown here in the input module. You can see the input module, it gives the input to the superordinate module. The arrow at this stage, we need the marker here. The arrow has been shown here, this one, and the output module, the data is received from the superordinate module, from its superclass. The data is received by the output module, so that it will be forwarded to its subordinate modules. Whereas the coordinate module, what it does, it just receives the data from one side and it just sends the data out to the another side. Next type is transform module, where it receives a particular value, say x, performs the calculations on it, transforms it and generates another output like y. Transformation of value by transform module. And the next part or next type of module can be composite module, collection of coordinate module and transform module, etc. So please understand different types of modules we have seen in the structure chart. And in the specification, the module specification, we have seen it is a major part of the system design specification. That means during the system design, the model specification is obtained because internal details of modules are defined later. Okay, so under the specification, we have to specify about the module. The design document, it should specify different things such as interface of module, abstract behavior and other modules used by module which is being specified. So such details we have seen in the design specification. So that was all about the brief introduction or revision about the points that we have already covered in the class. Now we have to focus on the next bits, out of which the most important bit is structured design methodology. Bit number 3.4, SDM, structured design methodology. Let us understand what does this mean. The structured design methodology, SDM, it views every software system as having some inputs that are converted into desired outputs by the software system. Means it considers that the software system will be taking some inputs and it will be generating the outputs. Obviously, that is the thing that software systems they do. But apart from that, what does the SDM says? The structure of a program, it has very importance, a great importance in the SDM. Structure of a program. We have not discussed the structure of a particular program yet, but here you should understand the structure of a program, it has got importance. Means we are going to see the further concepts like factoring. What do you mean by factoring in the next slides? During that you will understand what will be the structure of a particular program. So during design, the SDM, its aim is to control and influence the structure of final program. Means once this SDM, structure design methodology, is applied, at the end you will be having a final program in your hand whose structure will be influenced by this SDM. That means whatever is the ideology of SDM, its influence will be seen in the final program. So the aim is design should have hierarchical structure. They say that the design should have the hierarchical structure, having the main module at the top and subordinate modules at the bottom, and it will be repeated until the last module comes in the hierarchy. And it should have the functionally cohesive modules. We have seen what does this functional cohesion means. Okay, all the elements, they should be having the same aim in order to be in the module. They are having the same target. Elements in the module are having same target. So such cohesive modules should be used in this SDM, they are saying. Okay, so after this, let us understand some basic concepts related to SDM required in the SDM. First is factoring. It is a process of decomposing a module so that the bulk of its work is done by its subordinates. Please understand, you have got a module in your hand. You can decompose this module into multiple modules, wherein one will be considered as the main module and others will be considered as its subordinate modules, where the bulk of the work, that is most of the tasks, will be performed by the subordinate modules and not by the main modules. Main module performs only the functions of coordination and controlling, while subordinate modules will be actually performing the tasks. Another concept after the factoring. What do you mean by atomic modules now? Means after decomposition, subordinate modules will be created. If you go on performing or repeating this decomposition, you will end up with atomic modules having in your hands, and those atomic modules are the modules having no subordinates, means such modules which cannot be decomposed further. So you should remember this term also, atomic module. You should remember the term factoring. One more important term, completely factored. The completely factored system, it has all actual processing accomplished by bottom level atomic modules only. Means a completely factored system will have the atomic modules at the bottommost level. Atomic modules means which do not have the further subordinate modules. So these atomic modules will be performing all the actual processing, right? And the non-atomic modules means the modules which are having the subordinates. They perform the job of controlling and coordination. As I said, job of controlling and coordination will be done by non-atomic modules, whereas atomic modules, like in leaves of the tree, in case of data structures, we know the bottommost nodes. So the atomic modules will be performing actual processing, and non-atomic modules, they will be performing only job of controlling and coordination. Very simple. So SDM, what it attempts to achieve? It attempts to achieve a structure that is close to being completely factored. SDM's aim is to create a hierarchical structure of program such that it should be a completely factored system, right? It should be a completely factored system having the modules such as atomic and non-atomic modules, right? So next, in the SDM strategy, it is to identify the input and output streams and transformations to be performed to produce the output. So in the SDM, first thing is we have to identify which are the input and output streams, means from where you will be getting the input, from which modules the output will be generated, and the transformations which are to be performed, means what calculations, what transformations has to be performed by intermediate non-atomic modules so that the output will be produced. So they say that there are 4 different major steps in this strategy. In the SDM strategy, 4 different major steps are there. First is the restate the problem as a DFD. We know what do you mean by DFD. Representing a given problem in the form of a pictorial diagram, that is called as a data flow diagram. So restating the given problem in a data flow diagram, that is draw the DFD of given problem. That is the first step in this strategy. Second step is to identify the input and output data elements. We have to understand here the concept of which different inputs and which different outputs will be generated through this system. Most abstract input and most abstract output, MAI and MAO. We'll see what do you mean by these two terms, most abstract inputs and most abstract outputs of the system. So we have to identify these inputs and output data elements. Third thing is first level factoring. So after drawing the DFD, after identifying the most abstract inputs and outputs, now you start to factoring the given system. In that there will be the first level factoring, means identify the main module and identify its immediate subordinate modules. First level, creating only the first level of the hierarchy. And next is factoring of input and output and transform branches, means every module, if it is, you can say, decomposable, every module if it is decomposable, go for the decomposition, that is create multiple modules of that particular module. Keep on doing this factoring process repeatedly for input modules, for output modules, and for transform branches also. Transform branches are the modules which perform the transformation operations. So let us see these 4 steps in detail, and that is nothing but the study of structured design methodology. So the first step is restate the problem as a DFD. So in the SDM as given, it is the first step to construct the DFD for the given problem. So let us remember the concept of DFD. There is a difference in DFDs because we have seen this concept in requirement analysis step also, that is in the previous chapter. Currently we are learning the design phase. We are in the design phase. In the requirements phase also we have seen how to draw the DFD for a given problem. So there is a difference between drawing the DFDs in the requirement phase and drawing the DFDs in the design phase. So what is this difference? Let us see. In the requirement analysis, the DFD is drawn to the model, to model the problem domain, means we are drawing the DFD to represent the problem for the designers, such that the designers will understand what is the problem, means focus is on the problem domain. Whereas in the design, the focus is on the solution domain. The focus is on the solution domain. Okay, so in design, the DFD is drawn for solution domain and developing a model for the eventual system. So with this solution domain, a developing model, we have to create a model such that it will be finally converted into the eventual system for the systems. So first understand the basic difference between the DFDs of requirement phase and the design phases. So now concentrate on restating the problem as a DFD. How to do this? Let us take an example. So major transforms or functions in the software are decided, means you have to understand which are the major functions modules in the software. Identify them. Decide that these are the major important modules or transforms or functions. And with these transforms and functions in the hand, decide upon how to draw the DFD. So here the DFD, it shows the major transforms of software and shows how the data will flow through these different transforms. Let us take an example. We have to draw the DFD for an automated teller machine, ATM. So given is the diagram for the ATM. Here you can observe the star letter has been used in many times in many places. We have seen this concept in the during the requirement analysis chapter while drawing the DFD. Why this star is used? So you can see the transform validate. There is a transform called as validate. This one. What it does? It verifies the validity. Means it checks for the validity. But validity of what? Validity of account number. And only valid account number is supposed to be transferred as input to the next transform. So for finding the validated account number, it requires the information from the system database, like from this, and also it requires the account number information or account number and code from this module. So if this particular validate module requires the information from multiple such modules such as account number and code and system database, in this case the star will be used. So in such cases the star will be used, you can see. So the star is used here because the multiple values are required for validating the account number. And once this valid account number is forwarded, this will be given as input to the retrieve account record. So from this valid account number, now the account record will be retrieved from account database, this one, and this from this the amount record will be also given as input. Now this debit account, this module, it requires two different informations, that is the amount to be withdrawn and the details of amount record, means whether the amount is available in the account, that should be verified through this particular module, and how much amount has to be withdrawn, that will be taken from this module, get dollar amount. So again multiple values are required, so the star is used. So debit account module, it requires these two informations. So here you can observe a dotted lines, the dotted lines shown here, this one and this one, they are to represent the most abstract input MAI and most abstract output MAO. That means the most abstract input given to this system debit account is nothing but these two different informations. So the arrows are given here, and the most abstract output that will be generated from this debit account will be shown from MAO, that is on the right hand side, the record transaction and new account and the transaction. So we'll see what are these MAI and MAO in detail in the further slides. But here please understand, for the given problem such as ATM, you have to draw such a DFD first. We are currently in the first step of the SDM's strategy. Take another example. We want to draw, take another example, we have to draw the DFD for another problem such as word counting problem. After learning the DFD for ATM, we have to see another example of drawing the DFD for word counting problem. N number of words are there in the file, in the input file, and we have to count total number of words available in the file. Again, words means no repetition of the word should be counted. Same word should not be counted for more than once. So with this problem statement, we have to draw this DFD. What they say? So in this example, it has only one input data stream, that is input file. You can see here, this is the input file. So after this, first form a list of all the words in this file. That means get the word list one by one, get the words from this file and create a word list, WL, right? Then sort the list for identifying different words, sorting the list as per the alphabets, according to the alphabets, so that we can check whether any word is repeated, such that only different words should be considered. So whichever is the sorted list, that is the file or list which we are interested in. Basically, before starting counting, before the counting starts, we are actually interested in this input, the sorted list of words. We are not interested in this actual input file for performing the counting. Please understand. So this is called as the most abstract input. Which one? The sorted word list. The sorted word list, this one, is called as the most abstract input, in which we are actually interested in for performing the counting operation, right? And once this sorted word list is given to this module, it will perform its internal operations and it counts the different words and it generates the actual count of words. So this is nothing but the output which we are interested in, count of the actual words. So it is called as the most abstract output, MAO. Most abstract input is the sorted word list. Most abstract input is sorted word list. Most abstract output is the count which we are interested in. Once this count is generated, it can be sent for printing on the screen. So that is a simple example of word counting problem, and for that we have seen how to draw the DFD. This DFD can be factored in the further steps that we will see in the third step, that is first level factoring, and after that further factorings in the fourth step. So in that we will see how this transform module, that is count the number of different words, this module can be decomposed into multiple modules. We'll see that in the further slides. So here we have seen two different examples of drawing the DFD. One is for drawing the DFD of ATM, another is for drawing the DFD of word counting problem. Now second step in the SDM strategy, identify the input and output data elements. We have seen only how to draw the DFD in the first step. Now we are interested in identifying the most abstract input, MAI, and most abstract output, MAO. These data elements you have to identify, and also the central transforms are also required to be identified. Let us compare the previous examples and which are the MAIs and MAOs in the previous examples. For the ATM DFD in the previous example, the MAIs are dollar amount and validated account number. What they say? For the ATM DFD, the MAI is the dollar amount and validated account number. Let us go back and see. This see that for ATM, the MAI is dollar amount and validated account number. Here you can see dollar amount and validated account number. These two are the MAIs of the ATM DFD, wherein account, what they want to say again, only account number, it is not an MAI, because account number, it can be a valid or invalid. So if I am giving the account number as input, it cannot be considered. It cannot be considered. Where it is the account number, here is the account number. Where is the account number? This account number it cannot be considered as MAI because it can be a valid or invalid account number, so it cannot be considered as most abstract input. Fine. So validated account number will be the most abstract input, and the two MAOs in the example are obviously generated, that is the output generated by the DFD, transaction and new account, which are recorded in the record transaction and update account, the different logs. So MAI and MAO, they are marked in the DFD of ATM. We have seen how they are marked. So identifying the input and output of data element, that was the second step. Third step in the SDM strategy is first level factoring. Here we identify the main module and various subordinate modules, which can be input modules, which can be output modules, or which can be transform modules, right? So with the example we will see in the further slides. Before that, understand in the third step, that is first level factoring, we identify the main module and we find the subordinate modules of it. So the main module, it specifies, main module, what does it do? Main module is specified, whose purpose is to invoke the subordinate modules. So the main module, what does it do? It just invokes the subordinate modules, calls the subordinate modules. The main module is a coordinate module. So in this way, the main module is nothing but called as a coordinate module, which performs a coordination between the various subordinate modules. In the subordinate modules, various categories are there. Out of that, the first is input module. What is an input module? The subordinate modules to the main module are specified for each most abstract input data. Means for each most abstract input data, a subordinate module is created, and that will be considered as input module. So what this input module will be doing? The purpose of input module is to deliver the MAI to main module. Very simple. The main module is interested in the most abstract input, and this MAI, most abstract input, it will be taken through the input modules. So input module's task is to hand over the MAI to the main module. Next is, we have got output module. They are related to the MAOs. For each MAO data, a subordinate output module that accepts the data from a main module is specified. Means whichever number of MAOs are there, for each of these MAOs, a particular output module is created. And what does it do? These output modules, they accept the data from main module. So main module generates the output and it will be received by output module. The arrows connecting input and output subordinate modules are labeled with respective abstract data. You will see in the further slides, which shows the flowing in proper direction. One more type of module is the transform module. Its purpose is to accept the data from main module and then return the appropriate data back to the main module. Transform module, it receives the data from main module, performs the transformations, that is some of the calculations, updates on this, processing on this data, generates a particular appropriate data that is required by main module and returns it back to the main module. So that is task of transform module. Let us see with an example how the first level factoring can be applied and can be drawn for the word counting problem. We have seen the word counting problem, and with for that DFD, now we have to find the main module, the input module, the output module, and the transform module. We have seen in the structure chart diagram which notations can be used. By using that, similar to that, we have to draw the diagram for first level factoring. You can see the main module here. It has got an input module called as get a sorted word list. We are going to compare this diagram with the previous DFD of word counting problem. The main module will be having one input module called as get sorted word list, one output module called as output count. This is the input module, this is the output module. We are creating new modules, subordinate modules, please understand. And this one is the transform module, count the number of different words. Okay, let us compare this diagram with the previous DFD of word counting problem. See, input module here is get sorted word list, and output module is output count. Get sorted word list, this is the input module, right? And output module is accordingly created by decomposing the given central module. First level modeling does this, it creates the extra subordinate modules as per the requirements. So the diagram shows this get sorted word list module, it sends the sorted word list to the main module. Means this module has performed the sorting task and the sorted word list will be transferred to the main module. Now this main module wants to perform the counting operation. For that, it takes the help of this module, the output count module. So before performing the count, before displaying the output, it takes the help of count the number of different words. This count the number of different words module, this transform module, it requires the sorted word list as input. It requires the sorted word list as input. It performs the counting and it generates the count, returns back to the main module. Main module sends this count for displaying to the output count module. Okay, this is how we can draw the first level factoring for word counting problem. Now about the ATM. This ATM, it can be factored with the first level factoring. Main module will be there, multiple input modules such as these two, transform module such as this one, which receives the data and which sends the data back, transform module, and multiple output modules. You can see these are the output modules, these are the input modules, and this one is the transform module, which performs both the tasks, takes the input and returns back the appropriate data to the main module. So this is how the first level factoring can be done for ATM example. The last step in the SDM strategy is factoring of input output and transform branches. That means each of the modules such as input modules, they can be further factored. Each of the output modules, they can be further factored. Each of the input modules can be factored, each of the output modules can be factored, and the transform modules, if any, they can be also factored. Factoring means decomposing to create the further subordinate modules. Means levels will be increased, levels of factoring will be increased. In the third step, that is first level factoring, only one level has been created. In the further fourth step, some more levels will be created. Let us see what does this fourth step do. Sort transform is treated as central transform. So here the sort transform will be considered as central transform. Its input is word list, we have seen. In first factoring we have input module to get the list and transform module to sort the list. Means in the first factoring we have decided the input module will be getting the list and the transform module will be performing the actual sorting task. So input module, it can be factored further. They say that this input module can be even further factored so that next level can be formed. As this module, it requires to perform two different functions. They say that input module is not doing only single function. They say that it actually needs to perform two different functions. So what are the two functions it wants to perform? Getting the word and adding it to the list. One is input task and another is adding this word to the list. Two tasks are done by input module. So they say that in the fourth step we can decompose the input module into two different modules which will be performing two different tasks, getting input and adding it to the word list. Please note that the looping arrow can be used to show the iteration. In the next examples we'll see if repetition of task is there, it can be represented by the looping arrow. So factoring of IO and transform branches, here you can see with the example. They say that get sorted list, it was previously, it will be considered as get sorted list, it will be considered as transform module. So here this is the transform module. It has got this input module, that is get word list, and it has got the sort as the transform module. We have to focus on how to decompose this particular input module. This input module has to be decomposed into multiple modules. As we have seen, two tasks are done. First task is get the word, second task is add it to the word list. So it is shown the decomposition of single input module into two different subordinate modules is shown in this particular diagram. Here we have decomposed only one input module into two different subordinate modules. Similarly, you can decide upon if any other module has to be decomposed. You can go ahead, you can decompose those modules to create further levels of this hierarchy. Subordinate modules can be created as per the requirements. Keep on factoring, keep on factoring, keep on creating the levels. You can see this is the first level, second level, third level. Similarly, you can go on creating further levels in the downward direction as per the requirements. Keep on decomposing the modules until a particular module it cannot be decomposed any further. So finally that can be called as an atomic module, and the intermediate modules will be called as non-atomic modules. So this is the example of factoring of IO and transform branches for decomposing input module get word list. Another example, the count number. Here you can see the loop has been shown, remain to mention. This loop, what it says, two tasks 1 and 2. These two tasks are required to be done repeatedly. These two tasks 1 and 2, they are required to be done repeatedly. Get a word, add to list. 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 These two tasks are repeatedly done. So it can be shown with a looping structure with a arrow. Please remember, which was mentioned in the previous slide. Similarly, another example of factoring of IO and transform branches. Now we have to factor the count number of different words. This particular module we have to factor. It has got the transform modules such as get a word. Then once you get the word, For counting, this word is required to be checked with another module whether this word has been counted previously or not, whether it is matching to the any of the previous word in the list. Means, have we already taken this word into consideration? So this particular module has been created because it was the requirement. If the same word, if this particular word which is given, please understand, this count number of different words module is getting the input from get a word module. What input is getting? One word it is getting as input. Now this word has to be decided upon whether it has to be counted or not. Before it has to be counted, before it should be counted, please verify whether it has already been counted or not. For that, we have to perform some match checking, which is done by same as previous module. So it receives a word as input and it sends the flag as output. Depending on the flag value, this module, it will understand whether this word which was sent for checking, it has been already counted or not. So depending on the flag value, it will decide upon whether to count this word or not. If this word has to be counted, then the count has to be incremented. If this word is new, then the count should be incremented. For that, the increment count module is newly created. It was our requirement. What does it do? It takes the old count as input. It increments that count by 1 and it returns the new count, incremented count, back to its superordinate module, that is count number of different words module. This is how the factoring can be done. Factoring can be done to the count number of different words module. You can see in the DFD count number of this one, not in DFD, in the first level factoring. You can see this module has been again factorized into multiple subordinate modules. So fourth step, it suggests this. Fourth step, it suggests that keep on performing the factorization on every module that you want. If it is decomposable, factor it. So that was the last step in the structure design methodology. Please understand, it's up to the designers whether a particular module is decomposable. If it is decomposable, perform the factoring and add the labels. So keep on doing this. That was the fourth step. So if you end up with this factoring, repeatedly, you will get a hierarchical structure. Finally you will be having a hierarchical structure, big hierarchical structure, where there will be a main single module at the top and there will be n number of atomic modules at the bottom, having the non-atomic modules in between. All the atomic modules at the bottom will be performing the actual processing, and the non-atomic modules, they will be only performing the tasks of controlling and coordination. Whereas the main module which is at the top, its task is only to invoke or call various modules in the hierarchy, and that is nothing but the concept of structured design methodology, bit number 3.4. I hope you have understood this. So here we have considered 4 different steps in this strategy. First was to restate the problem into DFD, draw the DFD. Second step is identify most abstract input and most abstract output data elements. Then third step is first level factoring. only create one level of factoring. Decide upon main module and decide upon its immediate subordinate modules. And the fourth step is repeat the factoring process on the input output modules and the transform modules if possible. Keep on doing the factoring process on the input output modules and transform modules until the module is you can say not able, it cannot be decomposed anymore. Till then go on decomposing it. That is all about the structure design methodology, the most important bit in this unit. The question has been asked for many times, almost in every semester. The question is asked for 8 marks, so please do prepare this question, this bit very well. After this we have got, so I think we should stop here. Remaining bits such as object oriented analysis and design concepts, here brief, we'll see this in the next lecture. Okay, here I will stop. If you have got any queries, you can send me the WhatsApp message. Thank you very much.